Last week, I went to Browning, Montana, and we spent time there helping to put together some bags of stuff for Easter baskets to give to people in need. So it was like a bag of carrots and potatoes and yams and canned fruit and jello and different things of that nature. In any case, Browning is a tribal town, and the crazy thing is it's very remote, it's very run down. There's a lot of blighted neighborhoods. There's a lot of people there who really just seem to be kind of hopeless. Trailers with torn up roofs, tires on the top of roofs to keep them from blowing off. Just a really garbage filled, run down little town. Probably about, I would say, 5,000 people tops living in the broader area there, and maybe 1,000 people that actually live in the actual main part of town. It's very small, it's isolated, it's poorly managed, poorly run. People don't really have good access to services. They don't have a very well run city, and it's all run by the reservation. So it's not like a normal city in other parts of the country where you have a lot of regulation and you have consistent standards end to end. So anyways, we were there, and it was an interesting experience to go do this. But I was noticing, like, there's people there who are trying to help. They're nonprofit organizations. They're people that are sort of collecting money of some kind from federal grants, things like that, and then they take that money and they supposedly are spending it on things that are useful to the community. The problem, though, is that there's not a lot of oversight. So you get people in there, whether it's tribal leaders or people who are from outside, that kind of come into the area to help, and they really are very sticky. Like they want to be there, they want to help because they know they can get a slice of the money that is supposed to be helping the community. They can help some and they can pocket the rest, and you can't really prove that this is happening, but it is happening. And there's just a passive level of corruption that happens there. And then if you actually interact with the people in the town, they might not have a lot and they're not doing very well, but they're nice people. They're well-meaning. They just want a better life. They just don't know how to get there. Admittedly, there's some elements of addiction, substance abuse, things like that, which exacerbate problems, which are a vicious cycle. And then you have people who just have always lived a certain way, and they don't know how to break out of it. And like, if you think about it, if you lived in a little town of 1,000 people, you don't have money, you don't have a vehicle, there's no bus service, you're just kind of stuck there. And if you were raised there for your whole life, even just heading out of town a few hours to another neighboring city where you don't know anybody would feel like traveling across the world. So you have people who aren't really that far away from civilization. Like, you just drive another half an hour down the road and you'll encounter other little towns on the Montana High Line, which are just like any other town in small town America. Picturesque, quaint little towns that are pleasant to be in, which have amenities and all of that kind of stuff. But there, people are isolated and they're just sort of stewing in their own misery. And then when people come to help, it seems like there's always enough help given to get people to line up for a handout, but never enough help to really get them out of the cycle that they are trapped in. And sometimes I do believe that that's by design, because people like dependence. They like people to be there saying, hey, please help me. Because when you have people begging for a handout, then you've got them where you want them. And if you truly help somebody, you're not going to have them as a customer anymore. You know, it's like dating apps. I've messed around with those, and I really kind of gave up on them because I realized, you know, it's like a pay to win mobile game. There's a bunch of artificial friction points which are designed to make it difficult or unlikely for people to actually connect meaningfully with others. The goal is to create paywalls, to create problems that don't exist so you can sell the solution, and then hopefully people will just sort of stay in that ecosystem for a long time and not really be able to say that they found a solution to their problem, but also always feel like there's a carrot there, that like maybe there's a little bit more, you know, hope if they just, you know, pay a little bit more money, or, you know, stick around a little bit longer. The goal is to make profit first, and when you're trying to make profit off of selling people solutions to their problems, then it's not a surprise that eventually you never really do any meaningful good, because your profit motive is to make sure that the people you're supposed to be helping never actually are able to truly help themselves. Now, another thing that I thought was interesting hanging around in this town of Browning is when you look around at people who are doing well, or at least compared to others, they're doing well. People who have nice houses or things like that. In these kinds of communities, you see they have high fences, they have walls, they are sort of, you know, a nice house is like some sort of a compound, because people don't want the, you know, the peasants to get in, right? So the end result of having a problem in a community, and it could be something like I'm describing in a small isolated tribal town in Montana, or it could be something like, say, Dubai and the Emirates is a beautiful city, but it's also a town where the rich can have an amazing experience. Maybe some tourists can have an amazing experience, but there's not a lot of room for a functional, thriving middle class. Whenever there's something good that happens, it's not something good that affects the average person. It's something that benefits a select few. And then you get to a point where there isn't really any middle class. There's just the top and the bottom. There's the people who are doing really well, and there's the people who have nothing. And all the people who would have been in the middle, they leave. They go somewhere else. They find something else to do, or maybe if they're lucky, they wind up being able to join the upper class, or if they're unlucky, maybe they lose what they did have and they become part of the lower class. But there is no middle class. Middle class, a healthy middle class, is usually the sign of a well-rounded, well-balanced economy where the average person has a good quality of life, and there's a lot of rising tides that lift all boats. That should be the kind of thing that we try to invest in society. Things which help give people a meaningful opportunity to lift themselves out of the trouble that they're in and become self-sustaining and empowered. So my challenge is, we should ask, with all of the things that we do, are the things we do to help empowering or enabling? Are they empowering people to be the best version of themselves? Or are they just enabling people to continue existing without actually helping them to break the bad habits, the bad cycles, or the self-limiting things which keep them from having a good quality of life? By the same measure, we could ask ourselves that for ourselves. Like, are the things that we're doing in our daily life helping us as individuals to be better, to overcome our former problems? Or are we just kicking the can down the road, doing things which maybe make today seem a little bit more bearable, but it's not making our lives more fruitful at the end of the day? We should always look for opportunities to serve in a way that is meaningful and contributing to a long-term return on investment. That's one reason why I don't really like going on vacation. Because if you go on a vacation, you head out, you fly somewhere, you see something that you haven't seen before, and that's really cool. And I'm not begrudging that, but then after you spent that money, then you come home and now you just have a life that's about the same as it was before, only you're a little bit further behind on work stuff, and you have a little bit less money in the bank account, and you know, you didn't really get a better life out of it. You didn't get anything that continues to deliver a return on investment. All you did was get a little closer to the poorhouse and be able to say that you took a few selfies and photos of something, which you probably could have actually seen on Google or something if you just YouTubed it. So, not saying there's not a place for going on an adventure, but the things that I believe are worth experiencing are usually shared experiences with others, where you maybe you're bonding with somebody or something of that nature, but not just to have an experience for the sake of having the experience if it doesn't ultimately benefit you in any meaningful way. I'd rather spend money on things that I can use every day, things that are going to improve my quality of life, probably for months or years to come. That's how I would like to spend my thousands of dollars if I have a choice in the matter. So we should always look at the things that we're doing from the perspective of, you know, what is the value added proposition there? If this is making my life and other people's lives better, how is it making their lives better? Is it something which will continue to offer dividends in the future, or is it more of a once-off thing that, if anything, contributes to problems just as much as solutions? We should avoid things in life that are kind of a take 2 steps forward, take 2 steps back, and end up in the same place where you started. And as always, work to avoid corruption, because there's a lot of corruption in the world where people, they start off wanting to do good, but in the end, they really just serve themselves in the name of doing good. We need to be very cautious of that, be skeptical of people who seem to be really fanatical about presenting themselves as do-gooders, and challenge ourselves, not just to do things which make us look good, but to do things which actually create meaningful change. And you know, I really do think if you're doing the most good for others, chances are you're not going to have a lot of people coming along saying, wow, that's amazing, thank you for what you've done. because all of those people are going to just be gone. They're going to be off living a better life. Even if they're thankful and they're grateful for what you've done, they're not going to be there saying, oh, thank you so much. They're going to be in a better place. It's like if you have a campaign to make people wear seatbelts, you're not going to have a bunch of people saying, thank you for saving my life. No, you're going to have a bunch of people saying, the police are idiots for forcing me to wear a seatbelt, and we need less regulation or something of that nature. But you are going to potentially have a statistic that shows that fewer people are dying in vehicle accidents. So if you want to do the most good, you're going to have to understand you're probably not going to really get a lot of credit for it. And inversely, if people are getting a lot of credit and kudos, they're probably not doing the most good. I'm reminded of the Pharisees in the Bible. They would go pray on the public corner so that other people could see how pious they were. And the Bible says, don't do that. Don't be like them. Instead, if you want to truly pray, go in your closet where no one can see you. And that's how life should be lived. Do what's right, not because other people are going to appreciate it, not because you're going to get some kind of credit for it, not because it's brand positive, but because you truly believe in something greater than yourself. As always, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks for watching.